Assalamualaikum dear students. I am Dr. Wajid working as an assistant professor over here in NICH and JSMU. Today we will discuss something about the hemophilia. Before going to discuss the hemophilia, it should be first should we have an understand that the normal homeostasis is maintained by means of a balance between the two factors. That is, one is the procoagulant and one is the anticoagulant. There is a close balance between the anticoagulant and procoagulant that does allow the blood to circulate in the closed circulatory system. Whenever there is a disbalance, means there is a deficiency of procoagulant factors. For example, and this leads to the bleeding disorders, while there is a deficiency of an anticoagulant factor. This leads to the thrombosis formation. Before we should have an understanding of how the blood there is a formation of the clot formation. There are the two pathways. One is the extrinsic pathway and one is the intrinsic pathway. Extrinsic pathway is going to be start when the blood comes into the contact with the tissue collagen or the type 4 collagen. Whenever there is a vascular injury, this causes the conversion. This causes the tissue factors. That is the tissue factor to be activate the factor 7. Activated factor 7 causes the conversion of an activates the factor 10. These two factors comes into the extrinsic pathway, and this is controlled by means of the prothrombin time. While there is an intrinsic pathway में there is high molecular weight kininogens, and the bradykinin causes the conversion of the factor 12 to an activated form of the factor 12, and factor 12 activates the factor 11. Factor 11 activated factor 11 causes the conversion of the factor 9 into the activated factor 9. Now this activated factor 9 along with the activated factor 8 and von Willebrand factor and calcium and tissue plasminogen, this causes the conversion of the factor 10 into the activated factor 10. This is the extrinsic pathway, this is the intrinsic pathway, and this pathway, intrinsic pathway, is controlled by means of the APTT. When factor 10, activated factor 10, causes the conversion of the factor prothrombin to the thrombin. Prothrombin is the factor 2. Now the activated thrombin causes the fibrinogen into the fibrin. Fibrin is in a soluble form of the fibrinogen in the plasma, while there is a fibrin is the insoluble form. Now here comes the, when the fibrin mesh is formed, there are the factor 13. There is a factor 13 which causes the stabilization of the factor fibrin. So we should understand that there is one extrinsic pathway, one intrinsic pathway, and one is the common pathway. In extrinsic pathway is controlled by means of the prothrombin time. Okay, and the intrinsic pathway is controlled by means of the APTT. Means whenever there is a deficiency of these factor, tissue factor, factor 7, there will be derangement of the only prothrombin time. And when there is a deficiency of the factor 12, factor 11, factor 9, 1 millibrand, factor 8, then there will be deficiency, there will be prolongation of the activated partial thromboplastin time. When there is a deficiency of the factor 10, prothrombin, factor 5, and the fibrinogen, there will be prolongation of the prothrombin time as well as the APTT. But so we should understand that which pathway is monitored by means of the prothrombin time, which will help in the diagnosis and the subsequent investigation. Now let's come the factors that are responsible for the abnormal bleeding. Abnormal bleeding के लिए there are the three factors which contributes the abnormal bleeding. Number 1 is the vascular disorders, number 2 the thrombocytopenia, number 3 is the platelet function, and number 4 is the clotting factor deficiencies. Vascular disorders, for example, vasculitis, autoimmune vasculitis, systemic lupus erythematosus, or other vasculitis that leads to the bleeding. Thrombocytopenia, we know that the primary cascade is formed by means of the platelets, which leads to the deficiency of the platelets, leading to the bleeding disorders. Platelet functional disorders, in which the platelets are usually normal. Platelets, number of the platelets are the normal, but the functional or the qualitatively the platelet are not normal, leading to the bleeding. And then other factors that are the clotting factor, which I have already described, the two pathways. Deficiency of these clotting factors may lead to the bleeding. So up to the now we have seen that the intrinsic pathway, there is an factors, factor 8, factor 9, and factor 11. So the hemophilia is an inherited coagulation disorder where one of the blood blood's clotting proteins like factor 8 or factor 9 or factor 11 is absent or present in a reduced form. Factor 8 means hemophilia A, factor 9 means hemophilia B, factor 11 की deficiency there is it's called as hemophilia C. There are the other two also hemophilias, parahemophilia and autosomal hemophilia. I will let you know in the end. The gene that is passed down from a patient to the parents to the child means it's in a X-linked recessive disorders I will describe later on. Most of the bleeding in the hemophilia occurs internally into the joints or the muscles. The joint that are most often affected are the knee, ankle and the elbow. Repeated bleeding without prompt treatment can lead to the damage to the joints. So the incidence, as we know that the hemophilia A and hemophilia B is about 1 in 5,000 males worldwide and affects individuals of all races and the socioeconomic groups. There are the five types of the hemophilia: hemophilia A, hemophilia B, hemophilia C, parahemophilia, and another is the autosomal hemophilia. Hemophilia A means deficiency of the factor 8 and it is an X-linked recessive disorder. Hemophilia B is a deficiency of the factor 9 and it's also an X-linked recessive disorder. Hemophilia C is a factor 11 deficiency, it's an autosomal recessive disorder. Parahemophilia is the factor 5 deficiency and it is the autosomal recessive, and another is the autosomal hemophilia, that is the one of the subtype of the type 2 von Willebrand disease, that is in a functional deficiency, functional qualitative dysfunction of the von Willebrand factor. I will not go ahead the details of that autosomal hemophilia. So hemophilia A, it estimated account about of the 50% of the all cases, means total hemophilia के जो cases होंगे उसमें 85% of the cases will be of an hemophilia A, or it is a deficiency or dysfunction of the factor 8. Half of the cases of that variety of the mutation in the gene coding for the factor 8. More than 2/3 of the cases by the mutation in the gene. The 1/3 are due to the flip tip inversion in the factor 8 gene, resulting in a misleading or non-coding region of a shortened gene product. Hemophilia B is known as a Christmas disease, is estimated to account for about 50% of the hemophilia, 15% of the hemophilia cases, and is caused by the deficiency or dysfunction of the factor 9. So up till now we are dealing that how the hemophilia is classified. Hemophilia A is classified into the three portions: severe, mild, moderate, and the severe. Mild means there is an factor 5 to 30% or 5 to 40% international units per deciliter. Moderate means 1 to 5% and severe less than 1%. Means the concentration of the factor 8 normally it is present between the 40 to 150% of the international units per deciliter, but if it is present into the from the 5 to 40, it will be labeled as a mild. From 1 to 5 it is the moderate, and less than 1% it will be classified as a severe. In severe cases there is a spontaneous bleeding into the joint muscle, predominantly in the absence of the identifiable homeostatic challenge. Means there is no history of a trauma, there is no history of a stress. Even though the patient bleeds without any identifiable homeostatic challenge, this will be labeled as a severe clinically. And if the patient is falls into the category of a moderate category, then it occasionally spontaneous bleed, but prolonged bleeding with a minor trauma or surgery. If there is a minor trauma, there is a prolonged bleeding. While in the cases of the mild hemophilia, there is a severe bleeding with major trauma or surgery. Means whenever the patient encounters a major trauma or a major surgery, there will be the severe bleeding. This is in a mild variety, and spontaneous bleeding is very rare. So this is another slide in another way to show the severity of the hemophilia. This is only for the hemophilia A. And now, okay, let's come to the what are the sites in which the bleeding occurs. There are the three types of the bleed. We divide the anatomically or according to the severity of the clinical condition, whether it is in a serious, whether it is in a life-threatening, or whether it is in a just only bleeding. Serious bleeding are categorized the bleeding into the joints such as hemarthrosis, bleeding into the muscle, especially deep compartment, iliopsoas muscle, cough and forearm, or mucous membrane in the mouth, gum, nose, and the genitourinary tract. While there are the certain we usually use in the MCQs as well, what are the life-threatening sites in which there is an hemophilia bleeds. That is, the life-threatening sites are the number first intracranial, number second around the throat, that is the retropharyngeal and the gastrointestinal, and the site of the other bleeding. For example, now let's come to the what the frequency of the bleeding into the different anatomical sites. Hemarthrosis more common in hinge joint, ankles, knees, and the elbows. Less common into the multi-axial joint like shoulders, wrists, and hips. It approximately frequency of the hemarthrosis is about 70 to 80%. Muscles में bleeding के chances जो होते हैं वो तकरीबन 10 to 20% होते हैं, and other joints 5 to 10%. Central nervous system में less than 5% chances for the development of the. Now, how will you diagnose a case of a hemophilia? What are the questions that you should ask in the case? What are the questions that you ask in the history? So, whenever the patient comes with a bleeding, you are going to inquire all these questions to be from the parents. Does anyone in the family have a bleeding disorder? Especially from the maternal side, because it is an X-linked recessive disorder. X-linked recessive disorder usually present in the males, does not carry usually present in the females except in the Turner syndrome or in the lionization theories. So we have to ask the history whether there is a bleeding disorder from the maternal uncle and from the maternal side. Number second question will be, did the patient have a bruise formation after the vaccination? Because the most of the children usually get vaccination in early periods, so we usually they are vaccinated, there is a hematoma formation or the bruise formation over there. So this is one of the clues in the history. Did the patient have a prolonged bleeding after circumcision or the dental procedure? Means whenever the male child is going to for the circumcision, is there any history of a prolonged bleeding, or there is a history of a prolonged bleeding during the dental procedure? Is there a family history of menorrhagia? Does the patient have a joint pain, muscle stiffness? Does the patient have a bruise easily or excessively? Has the patient had episode of spontaneous bleeding or bruising without increasing trauma? Is there any history of the blood transfusion? Especially usually the blood products, you can ask from the whether it is in a white blood, whether it is in a red blood. White blood means there is some history of an FFPs or the fresh frozen plasma. And another question that you usually ask in the history, at the what day the umbilical cord claims, means if prolonged delayed umbilical cord separation is one of the sign of the factor 13 deficiency. It's also a part of the clotting questions that has been asked during the history of bleeding. Diagnosis can be made by the factor assay. Hemophilia A measures factor 8 activity level and measures von Willebrand factor to rule out the von Willebrand disease. Hemophilia B measures the factor 9. Diagnosis of the hemophilia A. Number first, there will be the history. Number second, there will be prolonged, as I show you into the intrinsic pathway, there is a deficiency of the factor 8 that will lead to the increase in prolongation of the APTT. But the PT will be normal in that case only, and then there is a differentiate from the, because the factor 8 is carried out by means of the von Willebrand factor. Von Willebrand is a large molecular polymer that carries the factor 8. If there is a deficiency of the von Willebrand disease, there will be also automatically there will be deficiency of a factor 8. So sometimes there is a factor 8 deficiency is secondary to the deficiency of the von Willebrand factor. But in hemophilia, there is only prolongation of the, because it is involving into the intrinsic pathway that I have already told you in the cases intrinsic pathway. Von Willebrand also come into the intrinsic pathway, but there is a prolongation of the bleeding time. It is the bleeding time which is going to differentiate between the von Willebrand disease and the hemophilia. If if there is a prolongation of the bleeding time, it means there is a deficiency of the von Willebrand. If there is no prolongation of the bleeding time, it means it is in hemophilia hemophilia, and APTT is prolonged because of the hemophilia factor 8 deficiency, not because of the von Willebrand factor. So in sometimes when there is a mild to moderate deficiency, for example more than 5% hai, so then we have to carry out sometimes the von Willebrand factor and the lysosomal cofactor activity as well. Okay. If you see factor 8 deficiency, PT will be normal because there is no extrinsic pathway involvement, only the intrinsic pathway is involved. APTT, that is the partial thromboplastin time, will be prolonged, and factor 8 deficiency means hemophilia A, bleeding time will be normal and the factor 8 level will be low. While in the factor 9, PT is normal, APTT is prolonged, bleeding time is normal, factor 9 will be low. When you will ask for the testing for the factor SL levels. Screening. Prenatal genetic testing should be offered to all the known carriers of the hemophilia gene. Chronic blood sampling is offered between the 9 and 11 week of the gestation, and amniocentesis is offered between the 12 and 15 weeks of the gestation. One thing should be neonatal factor assay should be performed on the male infants with a family history of bleeding problems or the prolonged bleeding after circumcision. Hemophilia A can be diagnosed from the factor 8 levels in the cord blood collected immediately after the delivery. While the hemophilia B requires blood to be taken after the 6 months of an age, since the factor 9 is the vitamin K dependent and all the neonates have low levels of the vitamin K and the factor 9. So for the screening of the hemophilia B, you should have wait for the 6 months at least. Other screening tests should be performed in the children who present with an excessive bruising or the bleeding. APTT is prolonged, PT is normal, and bleeding time platelet functional assay for the normal in the hemophilia cases, while it is to separate or differentiate between the platelet functional disorders as well as from the von Willebrand disease. So if a case of hemophilia comes around in your OPDs or in your clinics for the management, so that this is in a multidisciplinary action involving the hematologist, social worker, physical therapies, intern, pediatrician, orthopedics, genetist, and the dentist. So involving the patient family, it is in a multidisciplinary bleeding episode. This is the definition for the factor of the replacement therapy protocols. When a patient is diagnosed as a case of hemophilia by means of your investigations as well as from the clinical point of view, you are going to decide whether this patient should be on a prophylaxis or it should be on the demand treatment. Prophylaxis means there are the multiple type of the prophylaxis. Episodic, number first is the episode on demand treatment, means treatment given at the time of the clinically evident bleeding. Once a patient is diagnosed as a case of hemophilia, okay, now अब वो जो है ना वो ब्लीडिंग के साथ आया है, हेमाटोमा के साथ आया है, ब्रूजेस के साथ आया है, किसी भी चीज़ के साथ ब्लीडिंग के एविडेंस के साथ आया है, तब आपने उसको फैक्टर 8 दिया. दिस इज द ऑन डिमांड ट्रीटमेंट. Okay, this is a type of the treatment. While there is a continuous prophylaxis. Continuous prophylaxis means replacement of the factor given to prevent the bleeding for at least 45 of the 52 weeks and 80% of a year. मीन्स एक बच्चा जो डायग्नोज हो चुका है फॉर द हेमोफीलिया के लिए, एंड नाउ यू आर गोइंग टू स्टार्ट द प्रोफ्लैक्सिस. प्राइमरी प्रोफ्लैक्सिस मीन्स देयर इज नो एनी जॉइंट इन्वॉल्वमेंट, there is no any target joints, and before developing the target joints you have to prevent this bleeding. So you keep the patient on a primary prophylaxis, means regular continuous treatment initiated in the absence of the documented osteochondral joint disease determined by the physical examination or imaging studies, and started before a second clinical evident large joint bleed and age of 3 years. Means once the patient has been diagnosed, okay, now it only has developed the bleeding once or before the development of the osteochondral joint disease, you are going to start the prophylaxis. and वो prophylaxis जो है वो कितने दिन तक मिलेगी? 45 weeks of year regular replacement of the factor given to prevent the bleeding for at least 45 of the 52 weeks. ओके, सेकेंडरी प्रोफ्लैक्सिस क्या होती है? सेकेंडरी प्रोफ्लैक्सिस का मकसद होता है रेगुलर कंटिन्यूस ट्रीटमेंट स्टार्टेड आफ्टर द 2 or more bleeds into the large joints and before the onset of the joint disease, documented by the physical examination and imaging studies. Means there is a number of the repeated bleeding episode, there is a target joints, Okay, but before the onset of the joint disease documented with the physical examination and studies. Tertiary prophylaxis क्या होती है? The regular continuous treatment started after the onset of the joint disease documented by the physical examination and plain radiographs of the affected joints. एक होती है, this is the continuous prophylaxis. Second type of the prophylaxis is the intermittent or the periodic prophylaxis. Treatment given to the prevent bleeding for the period not exceeding the 45 weeks in a year. अगर एक साल में मोर देन 45 वीक्स आप जो ना वो ट्रीटमेंट दे रहे हो या प्रोफ्लेक्सिस दे रहे हो, तो इट विल बी अ कंटिन्यूस प्राइमरी prophylaxis. It is a continuous prophylaxis. While if it is not 45 less than 45 weeks in a year, that will be the intermittent or the periodic prophylaxis. Okay. So, what are the strategies for the pain management when a patient develops the hemarthrosis after the development hemarthrosis in the patient of hemophilia? Hemophilia usually bleeds into the multiple joints. अब the bleeding की history होगी कि there are the multiple bleeds in the repeated bleed in the joints leading to the formation of the target joints. Most of the time, usually involving the knee joint, ankle joint as well. And now how will you treat a patient, or what are the strategies for the pain management in the hemophilia? Initial pain management is the paracetamol or acetaminophen. If it is not effective, then you can go ahead for the COX-2 inhibitors, e.g. celecoxib, melicoxib and nemolizumab and others. While you can make a combination of the paracetamol or acetaminophen plus codeine या paracetamol acetaminophen plus tramadol. अगर उससे भी आपको जो है रिलीफ नहीं मिलता, तो then third stage is the morphine. Use a slow release product with an escape of the rapid release, because in the joint involvement peristeum is a very sensitive layer similar to like of an skin. It is a very painful. So if the stages that has not been covered by means of these two strategies, then you can go ahead for the morphine. Use a slow release product with an episode of a rapid release. Increase the slow release product of the rapid release product is used more than 4 times a day. Okay, now how will you going to decide के response to treatment of the acute hemarthrosis? If a patient that has already developed the hemarthrosis, तो उसके लिए आपने response देखने के लिए कि क्या उसने response दिया है. There are the 4 types of the response. एक excellent response होता है, ये कभी कभी हम MCQs में देते हैं कि what are the excellent response, what is the good response, what is moderate response and what is the no response. These are the definition at I've already stages. Okay, this is very important. Okay, these are the radiographic staging of the hemarthropathy. When the patient develops the hemarthrosis, you have to categorize in which stage of the hemarthrosis your patient falls. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4 or stage 5. Because the treatment option for the every stage is different, but you should finally students must be familiarized with what are the stages. Stage 1, soft tissue swelling due to the hemorrhage into the joint, but there is no skeletal abnormalities. Stage 2, osteoporosis and overgrowth of the epiphysis, no narrowing of the cartilage space. Stage 3, early subchondral bone cyst, presentation of the cartilage space but with an irregularities. Stage 4 में क्या होगा? Cartilage destroyed, joint space narrowed. Stage 5, fibrous contractures, loss of the joint space, extensive enlargement of the epiphysis and substantial disorganization of the joint. ये आपको पता होना चाहिए. Okay, another bleeding in the hemophilia, that is the epistaxis. Okay, how will you treat the epistaxis? अच्छा, epistaxis sometimes हम जो है ना वो OSPE में भी पूछते हैं, and sometimes जो है ना वो usually you encounter in the patient in daily OPD basis पे and your clinics. Most of the familiar students that has visited into the emergencies as well as in the OPDs usually encounter these epistaxis. So sometimes we are going to ask you from the your final year student came, how will you manage the cases of an epistaxis in a patient with an hemophilia RN? Place the patient head in a forward position. Firm pressure within a gauze soaked in ice water for 10 to 20 minutes should be applied to the anterior softer part of the nose and factor replace. अच्छा, ये आपने 2 measures कर लिए and the patient is known case of an hemophilia, so you will go ahead for the factor replacement. I will go ahead and detail in next few slides. And sorry, antihistamine and decongestant are not recommended. Evaluate for the anemia and treat appropriately. Tranexamic acid is applied locally in the soft dose is helpful, and otolaryngological ENT consultation is very important for the requirement. Now, what are the basic management strategies for the bleeding, for the hemophilia? Basic strategies will be the prevention of the bleeding episode. Number second is the replacement therapy. Number third is the gene therapy. Number fourth, desmopressin, and number other therapies. I will go ahead for the okay. Now the before going to the factor 8 replacement, I will go ahead for the purified other products that can be used in the hemophilia. Hemophilia में आप use कर सकते हैं FAPs use कर सकते हैं purified plasma derived FAPs, and other is the purified plasma derived factor 8 and factor 9 are derived from the human or the porcine serum. Means whenever there is a deficiency of the factor 8, you will go ahead for the replacement of the factor 8 or the factor 9. Recombinant factor 8 and factor 9 are synthesized from the genetically modified cells, and now it is available in Pakistan, and we are using in the NICH as the recombinant factor 8. Prothrombin complex concentrate consists of the factor 2, factor 7, factor 9 and factor 10. These are the final complex. It does not contain the factor 8, but it is in a final prothrombin complex that usually act after the factor 8, as I have already into the intrinsic and extrinsic pathway and a common pathway. Desmopressin acetate increases the release of the factor 8 from the endothelial cells and is useful for the treating mild to moderate factor 8 deficiencies. Endothelial cells comprises the this desmopressin has an activity causes the stimulation of the endothelial cells and causes the release of the factor 8. So the mild cases I will describe, there are the three types: mild, moderate, severe. In the mild cases of the hemophilia, you can use the desmopressin, which causes the activation of the endothelial cell and causes release of the factor 8, but you cannot use the factors moderate and severe cases में it does not usually respond. Okay, the recombinant factor 8. What are the dosage? In the absence of an inhibitor, each unit of factor 8 per kilogram of body weight infused intravenously will raise the plasma factor 8 level approximately by means of the 2 units per deciliter. The half-life of the factor 8 is approximately 8 to 12 hours. The dose is calculated by multiplying the patient's weight in kilograms by desired rise in the factor level in international units per deciliter multiplied by 0.5. This is the coefficient that is required for the factor 8. This is the factor 8 anti-hemophilic factor, human genetically engineered. Baxter कंपनी का आता है और भी कंपनीज का आता है, that is usually available, we usually use in the NICH. अच्छा, whenever possible, the use of the pure factor 9 concentrate is preferable for the treatment of the hemophilia B as opposed to the prothrombin concentrate complex. In the absence of the inhibitors, each unit of the factor 9 per kilogram of the body weight infused intravenously will raise the plasma factor level approximately 1 international units per deciliter. The half-life is approximately about 18 to 24 hours. Okay, इनहिबिटर्स क्या हैं उसको समझने के लिए जो ना वो जस्ट आप एक चीज़ समझ लें कि इट इज़ एन एक्स-लिंक्ड रिसेसिव डिसऑर्डर. जब एक्स-लिंक्ड रिसेसिव डिसऑर्डर्स में इसकी जीन म्यूटेटेड होती है तो देन देयर इज़ अ नो जीन दैट लीड्स टू दी, हमारे सेल्स जो होते हैं उसमें जो ना वो प्रोटीन एसेस ही नहीं होती. थायमिक सेल्स में जो ना वो प्रोटीन असेसमेंट होती है कि दिस इज़ आवर जीन एंड देयर इज़ नो आवर जीन, सो देयर इज़ नो एनी जीन protein gene, so there will be no ribosomal dysregulation leading to the protein formation, so this will not be processed into the thymus and the body will not recognize it as a cell proteins. When you are introducing this factor, recombinant factor 8 or the factor 9 into the person who are genetically mutated, who does not know there is a gene for the factor 8, so this will act as an antigen and this will leads to the formation of the antibodies, and these antibodies are called as an inhibitors. Means the inhibitors are the antibodies against the factor 8 or the factor 9 molecules that develops after the multiple treatment with the clotting factors. These inhibitors make the homeostasis difficult to achieve. They are more likely to develop in the patient with an hemophilia A but do occur in the patient with an hemophilia B as well. Patients with inhibitors have a prolonged APTT and high titers of the inhibitors. Often patients with an inhibitors require the treatment with a factor 8 bypassing products such as the recombinant factor 7. अदर प्लाज्मा प्रोडक्ट्स, जैसे मैंने याद आपको कहा कि एक तो ट्रीटमेंट ऑप्शंस जो है ना वो फैक्टर की रिप्लेसमेंट है। फैक्टर रिप्लेसमेंट हमारे पास जो है ना वो रिकॉम्बिनेंट फैक्टर 8 एंड रिकॉम्बिनेंट फैक्टर 9 के अवेलेबल है, पोर्सिन की भी अवेलेबल है, बट वी रियली डू नॉट यूज दैट। नंबर सेकंड इज द क्रायोप्रेसिपिटेट। क्रायोप्रेसिपिटेट इज एन प्रेफरेबल टू द एफएफपी फॉर द ट्रीटमेंट ऑफ एन हेमोफीलिया due to the concern hemophilia A, not the hemophilia B, because it does not contain the factor 9. Due to the concern about the safety and quality of the FFP, its use is not recommended if avoidable. 1 ml of the fresh frozen plasma contain 1 unit of factor activity. It is generally difficult to achieve the factor 8 levels higher than the 30 international units per deciliter and factor 9 levels above the 25 international units per deciliter with FFPs alone. An acceptable starting dose is the 15 to 20 ml per kg FFPs की जो है। Cryoprecipitate can only be justified in the situations where the clotting factors concentrates are not available. A bag of cryoprecipitate made from 1 unit of FFPs may contain about 70 to 80 units of the factor 8 in the volume of a 30 to 40 ml. Okay. ओके, दीज आर दी हम जो क्लिनिकल प्रैक्टिस में हम कर रहे हैं कि भाई कौन कौन सी प्रोफ्लैक्सिस हमने जैसे कहा कि देयर आर द टू प्रोफ्लैक्सिस सिस्टम, वन इज द प्राइमरी प्रोफ्लैक्सिस, वन इज द इंटरमीडिएट प्रोफ्लैक्सिस, वन इज द टर्शियरी प्रोफ्लैक्सिस. सो देयर आर द टू प्रोफ्लैक्सिस प्रोटोकॉल्स करंटली यूज इन विच देयर इज अ लॉन्ग टर्म डेटा. द मेलमोस प्रोटोकॉल्स में हम क्या करते हैं कि 25 to 40 इंटरनेशनल यूनिट्स पर केजी पर डोज एडमिनिस्ट्रेड 3 times a week for those with hemophilia A and twice a week for those with hemophilia B. And एक होता है यूट्रिक प्रोटोकॉल, इसमें 15 to 30 इंटरनेशनल यूनिट्स पर केजी एडमिनिस्ट्रेड 3 times a week for those with an hemophilia A and twice a week for those with hemophilia B. Okay, thank you very much. And any questions or any comments that you can ask from the email, I will be happy for you to answer you. Thank you very much.